Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's so good to see you out there this morning. I am Dr. Helen, the host of Exactly Where You Are. It is our Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp, where we build health one day at a time, where we build health one day at a time. I am also the host of the Faith Building Bootcamp, where we build faith one day at a time. And we're so excited to see you out there. We are on day 36. My goodness, 36, day 36. Guys, I don't know if this is your first day, if it's your second day, or if it is your 36th day. But if it's your first day, welcome. If it's your second day, welcome back. And if it's your 36th day, look at you because you are still here. We give you a thumbs up. So glad to see you out here this morning. Today, we are continuing with our series on an ounce of prevention because my mom always told me that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so we'd rather use an ounce than a pound when we're talking about cure because you know what? Pounds cost a lot more money than ounces do. So we're so excited to have you out there as we share something. I like to look at things that you will be seeing in the store, maybe you might be curious about. And so we want to make sure that when you see these things that you are educated about it and you can say, yes, I do. I think that would be beneficial for me. Or if you need to go out and find it, then you can say, oh, that would be beneficial. So we're going to talk about an ounce of prevention today. But first, my favorite husband, John Stoddard. This one is called Tender-Hearted Lover. 45 seconds. Let's go. Tender-hearted lover, tender-hearted lover. You may have heard that with Huge Groove, a jazz singer who featured my husband on his album, but Tender-Hearted Lover, one of my favorite tunes. We are continuing on. We are on day 36. Day 36, guys. We are so excited and we are hoping that you are still sending us pictures. We're going to feature those pictures on tomorrow. We're going to feature your pictures tomorrow, Pictorial Wednesday, which is our last Wednesday together, y'all. I just can't believe how fast it's going. We are actually ending our interval 4, which is the part that we'll be doing together. But there is an interval 5, so I would just encourage you to continue what you have learned and make sure that you continue with the food choices that you have made, eliminate all of the things that cause inflammation, and try to eat more an anti-inflammatory diet. Make sure that you're adding more and more anti-inflammatory foods. Remember what we've learned during this time together with the foods to avoid as you go through the grocery store, the foods that you want to consume. So we're going to do all of those things. So make sure that you are ready there. We have a very special guest with us today because we're going to be talking about the effects that she has experienced so far on our testimony Tuesday. This lives in the DMV area, and she told me about some wonderful things that she was experiencing when she started her detox. She actually came in, so she's not right where we are, but she's showing us what she has accomplished so far. Good morning, April. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Dr. Helen Stoddard. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So you told me that you were on what day are you on?
I'm not keeping track, but let
Okay.
me just say
So
you
she was doing the smoothies.
yes,
Yes. So she was
you and I
doing the smoothies and she told me she had I'm sorry, go ahead. You told me you had some benefits that you noticed from doing this. So let's talk about that. You were talking about energy. Tell me about your energy level.
so my energy level has shot through the roof. And so in regards to the journey, you and I have been on this journey since we met long time ago. And so that's why I was like, I'm not on any day. We've been on day one for a while, but I did a week of smoothies. Because I was diagnosed with something called sarcoidosis back in 2015, and that's nothing but inflammation, right? And so I've been working to kind of detox my body. It was not easy to do the week of smoothies because I haven't done it in a good while, but I was pretty successful. And then I started a week of raw. And I can tell you in between that time, and I went on your YouTube channel to kind of get some recipes of the smoothies and some raw recipes. And I have not even been doing it for a full 2 weeks, and my energy has shot through the roof. I don't have the brain fog anymore.
Mm,
I'm sleeping through the night without having to get up.
nice.
Because I'll be 50 next month, and it's a struggle. But I feel completely different. So, in regards to your question, my energy, it's I almost have like 3 times the amount of energy that I had before. I'm also
Nice.
working as well. I'm continuing to work out.
And so you've not your energy hasn't gone away even through your workouts. You're still able to you have endurance?
Well, I will tell you that was a little tough. And so I would put bananas in my smoothie. So if I'm right before I'm working out, I might eat a little piece of the banana so that I can have some energy to be able to work out. But with the raw, I'm good because
Okay.
I can have like a handful of raw nuts before I
Yes.
work out, and I'm able to finish a 30-minute workout that I do downstairs. And then of course I have a dog, which you know because you're his auntie. We walk also 20, 30 minutes just during the week, but we'll walk longer on the weekends.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Now, what you were, your voice actually sounds different to me. Like it doesn't, like you were always congested. Tell me how that's going.
So because I'm doing anti-inflammatory, it is just so the sarcoidosis. Let me back up. The sarcoidosis is actually in my nasal passage, which my ENT was like, he's been an ENT for a long time. He's well in his 60s. He's never seen sarcoidosis in the nasal passages.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if I'm experiencing inflammation, that's where it's going to be. So now I don't have the drainage happening. And so my voice sounds clearer and stronger, which actually it has been a struggle to sing. I haven't really been able to sing since 2016, with the exception of the Dave Cos cruise. But so that has been good. I also am not coughing as much. Like in this conversation with you, I haven't coughed once, and that is a miracle. So I've been praying. It's on my prayer list, but I also knew that I need to really kind of do some of the things you've been telling me to do all these years. And I would do it, but then I would kind of like fall off a little bit. And I mostly eat vegetarian, but I've been eating too much dairy. But now I get my Chipotle bowls without the cheese, which is a huge thing for me. It's a big
Yes,
thing.
it
So,
is. Yes, it
it's
is.
so
I, I just think that this is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited for you because I just to hear you talk without sounding like it's totally different. I'm so excited for you. I'm glad that you have more energy. You're able to work out, and you're like in the like you're staying in there in the trenches. I'm so excited, and you sent some really delicious looking foods that I'm going to
mm,
feature actually tomorrow. I'm going to put them on tomorrow as we feature some of the foods that you've done and some other people have sent in. So I'm really looking forward to sharing what you are doing up there with people, what people are doing all around wherever they're coming from. So excited. Thank you so much for talking to us. I know you're busy and you got to get going and you got tons of meetings today, but thank you so much for sharing with us. We are really happy that you are making so much good progress. And I just want you to keep up the good work.
well, thank you, Dr. Helen, for all that you do to help keep us healthy.
All right. Take care. Talk to you later. Peace
Okay, bye.
out.
Peace.
All right. Guys, this is so exciting because food as your medicine is absolutely the way to go. We like to make sure that food is our medicine so we don't have to take medicine as our food, right? And so we're going to continue. And as I tell you my disclaimer, again, I just want to make sure that we know in every video that what I give you is from a board certified physician. I am dually trained in internal medicine and physical medicine and rehabilitation, where I did both residencies at the same time, one of only two students that are chosen each year for that program. And I was honored to be one of them, to be able to do the two residencies coincidentally. And it was very interesting, very difficult at the time, but very, very eye-opening to see both sides at the same time, on internal medicine and what we do in physical medicine and rehabilitation. I then did my fellowship training in non-surgical orthopedics and sports medicine. It's just like do everything in twos: non-surgical orthopedics and sports medicine. Lord have mercy, isn't that something? And then I did additional training in interventional pain, as well as my own training in lifestyle medicine, which is why my practice is called Pain to Wellness, another two thing. And my name is Powell Stoddard, another two things. I had two children. This is something else, but one husband. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not meant to replace the advice of your primary care provider. So, because it is very powerful in lowering your blood sugars and your blood pressure and your cholesterol, we want to make sure that if you're on medications for blood sugars or blood pressure, that you are in contact with your primary provider, so that if your medications need to be changed, altered, or removed, they are able to do that. They know all of your information. If you would like to see me, we'll make sure we put up our contact information at the end. I am 100% virtual practice now, so we're very excited about that, because it just allows us the opportunity to be able to share with people around the country and even around the world, which we are very excited about. So with over 28 years of experience, I am bringing that to you in this forum. And when I see you as a patient virtually, I call you clients then, but it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to share. So educational purposes only, make sure that you stay in contact with your physician. We are still talking about an ounce of prevention. And so we're talking about where this one comes from, and we're going to talk about the nutrient profile. You get it now. You've seen enough of these. We're talking about the powders, the forms of it, the benefits of it, how to consume it, and then just some words of caution on each one of them. So here we're going to talk about reishi mushrooms. Now, probably people have seen reishi mushrooms a little bit more than you're like, well, what is that? You've probably seen coffees and things of that nature. And like, well, what's that all about? And so we're going to just try to open up at some of the doors to be able to see what's going on with these reishi mushrooms. They're actually called Ganoderma lucidum. I like to, that's the scientific name of it. It is actually a fungus that grows in hot and humid locations, particularly in the Asian continent. And the interesting thing about these is that you can actually get them in different combinations. These species are not really considered suitable for consumption as culinary mushrooms. Like you don't see them in the stores where you just chop them up and saute them in it, because they can kind of get really kind of hard and difficult to chew. So it's typically ground up and made extracts of it and powders of it and things of that nature. And it's used a lot for remedies. You can actually find it in different forms, like the liquid tinctures, or you can find it in liquid extracts. Capsule formations are also something that you will find them in, and you'll see them in powders, and you can kind of add these things to different fruit choices. It can be brewed, like you can make a tea out of it, and you can use that. It's also made into like chewable tablets. It's used in like rice wine and some syrups, and it's also used in hair and skin products. And so you'll see it in many, many different applications. It's found to have some pharmaceutical properties. So you may start seeing it in medications at some point in the future. It's actually got really high potency vitamin C. It's got vitamin E, beta carotene, and people are using it because of its antioxidant capacity as well, because it's full of antioxidants. And it's also considered an adaptogen. So it kind of helps to, like we talked about with the maca and the ashwagandha, it has some adaptogenic properties so that it helps with the cortisol response as well. And so when you look at some of the functions, it's anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, has a hypoglycemic effect, helps to reduce fatigue and promote heart health, in addition to protecting the intestinal mucosal barrier, so that GI comfort. And it's also immunomodulatory, so it means it helps to boost the immune system. And it's also been found to have some anti-cancer properties. So as we look at it for what it does for the heart, there's been some really promising research. Obviously, further studies are going to be needed, but it is found that it contains compounds that inhibit the oxidation, that reduce that lipid oxidation that we talked about with the cholesterol component that can lead to heart disease. So in that respect, it is cardioprotective. And cardiovascular disease is one of the leading causes of death. And this is not just in the US, but worldwide. And as the heart and the vessels can be classified as hypertensive disease when these get smaller because of plaques or because of spasms or whatever the case may be, it can lead to coronary artery disease and heart failure. And these are some of the causes of hypertension and atherosclerosis. You see dyslipidemia, so you have problems with the fatty content inside the vessels, and causing inflammation and this oxidative stress that we are trying to alleviate. And what's interesting, that in 2019, 32% of deaths worldwide were caused by cardiovascular disease. So this is a huge problem. On the other hand, it's estimated that the number may reach even higher by 2030, so that more than 22 million people will have this cardiovascular disease, which is really crazy. So that increases the percentage up into 40% of people will have a cardiovascular disease. And there are all of these different risk factors for it. It could be your age or genetic factors. It could be just your unhealthy diet, smoking or alcohol use, and even obesity and a lack of physical activity will all influence the development of cardiovascular disease. So what can we do to combat that? Right, we talked every morning. We talk every morning about doing your exercises so that we can become more active. So we're not only increasing the strength, the lower extremity strength, but we're also increasing our circulation through the foods that we're consuming. And so we're talking about things that we can add as an ounce of prevention to try to help with cardiovascular disease, things that will help to protect our hearts, so that we know that nutrition is a vital part of preventing the formation of both primary and secondary cardiovascular disease, whether it's due to something that you have done or something, a secondary cause because something else caused your heart disease. So there are many drugs that are used to treat cardiovascular disease, but there's a lot that we can do on our own to actually prevent that, so that we don't necessarily have to take medications to help with heart disease. So we are very interested in helping that. And by the same token, if we're talking about on the same vein, some pun intended, the same vein of heart disease, you see how I did that? Reishi mushrooms has also been shown to be instrumental in lowering the cholesterol. So particularly the low density lipoprotein, which is the dangerous cholesterol. It also lowers the total cholesterol as well as triglycerides. And so we're lowering those things due to its antioxidant activity. The medical research also notes that consuming reishi mushrooms also increase the good cholesterol, which is the HDL cholesterol. So good reasons to consume reishi mushrooms. As far as our blood pressure is concerned, it's shown to have a positive effect on our blood pressure. And as it has an effect on the cholesterol. So if you just imagine you got those those yellowish plaques that we showed you yesterday inside the vessel, you're putting pressure against that wall of the vessel. So that's going to increase your pressure, in addition to the fact that sometimes with our standard American diet, it can make the blood thicker. And because the blood is thicker, it is not able to let go of the nutrients as it goes through the different vessels. It's kind of more like it's holding on to the thing, so it doesn't circulate the way that it's supposed to, so you don't get the nutritional value of your food into the different organs that are necessary when your blood is thicker. So because these reishi mushrooms can improve your blood flow, the mushrooms may prove that they have a natural ability to just lower your blood pressure. Really important in cardiovascular disease. And we also look at it for blood sugar. My program that I am happy to provide for my clients is reversing type 2 diabetes and other chronic illnesses, but I focus on type 2 diabetes particularly. So you'll notice that all of the ounces of prevention that I present to you are always talking about its component in lowering your blood sugar level, because that is my focus. And you've seen other places why I got so interested in it. But there is data that's been published in this diabetic atlas in 2021 that there are currently, you get this, y'all, 537 million adults with diabetes between the ages of 20 and 79. The number is estimated to increase to 783 million by 2045. So I'm trying to intervene so we don't see that. So I'm trying to help as many people reverse type 2 diabetes as we possibly can, because the projections is just that it will continue to increase over time, because we are continuing with our standard American diet. And there's also all of these sneaky things that are said to be health foods that are sneaking into our diet, which is why we're doing this 40-day time together, so that I can help you navigate in the grocery store so you know what to avoid. Because you are likely, what you walk into a room, 1 in 10, it used to be you walk in, 1 in 10 of the people will be diabetic. I'm trying to make sure that person is not you. It's continuing to grow to 783 million. So it's going to go down to about 1 in maybe 7 people that are going to have type 2 diabetes. So let's learn how to navigate through the things so that we won't be able to see it. Now, the last time when I did my last presentation, the last statistic that we had from the World Health Organization was 422 million people with diabetes, which is very interesting. That was in 2017. And now we're looking in 2021, 537 million. I just want this to just hang there in your head. Many people have pre-diabetes, and 80% of the people don't even know it. But we're getting ahead of the game, because we're not going to allow that to be us. So we know that this actually has been shown to lower your blood sugar levels. Diabetes is a metabolic disease that has blood sugars that are elevated. And the symptoms, you'll see symptoms like I'm thirsty all the time, I'm always hungry, or I'm urinating a lot. Those are symptoms. We call it the poly disease. And because it's the poly disease, we call it polyphagia, polyuria, and polydipsia. That's why we call it the poly disease, because it's causing you to be more hungry, more thirsty, and more frequent urination. You're just like, man, why am I always hungry? You might want to get checked out. Why am I always thirsty? You might want to get checked out. Why am I always peeing? You might want to get checked out. Diabetes progresses when normal fasting blood sugar, which is normally in the range of 70 to 100, is constantly above these values. And that change in the blood sugar is due to the deficiency of insulin. We talked about that before as well. These factors can incorporate into the tissue and cause problems with metabolism. Right? Insulin is responsible for metabolizing your fats and your sugars, right? And so when you have problems with your insulin, then you have problems metabolizing that. And it leads to weight gain, because now you're going to be secreting so much insulin, and insulin is a fat storage hormone. So it's going to store it around that belly, the thighs, and the neck. So you'll see all of those things happening. Now, it can also reduce the risk of cancer. So this is a biggie, that it may reduce the risk of cancer. And cancer is really just an uncontrolled growth of abnormal cells, right? And these abnormal cells, they just continue to grow and grow and grow, and they start affecting healthy tissue. They get their own blood supply, and they just grow, and then they end up taking over different parts of your body. We call that metastasis. And so you'll see it spread to all these different things. For instance, if you have prostate cancer, it's more likely to spread to your lower spine before anything else. So I was constantly having to evaluate men that would come into my office with low back pain and checking to make sure they didn't have cancer. And I was treating their back pain when I should have been treating their cancer. And so you'll find all of these things that we know is going on with this whole phenomenon of cancer. And so how can we decrease the cancer risk? We're going to do it with our food, because we know that there are a lot of toxins that come into our space on a regular basis. And the interesting thing about it is that we cannot avoid toxins. Toxins are literally everywhere. And because toxins are everywhere, we are fighting the cancer every single day. And so we're trying to add as many antioxidant foods to our diet as possible, because those are our fighters for the cancer. Those are our fighters. They actually increase the immune system so that we can fight. And the reishi mushrooms have actually been shown to be helpful even when you're doing chemotherapy, to make your body to respond better to the chemotherapy. So it can also reduce your risk of developing all types of cancer by like 30 to 40%. That's huge, right? That's huge. In order to prevent cancer, you got to have certain nutrients, right? You got to have selenium and vitamins, particularly like folic acid, B12, vitamin C, A, D, E, beta carotene, lycopene. All of these things are important, and so we are looking for those things to happen when we consume them in our food. And that is an absolutely wonderful thing to do. We found that these cancerous cells can kind of mutate. Remember how COVID mutated and you got all these different strains of it that they were not able to fight, and we got the Delta, and they got all of these different strains coming in, all of these different strains of COVID. It was because it was mutating, that virus was mutating. And so the reishi mushrooms can actually cause and it has an anti-mutagenic effect so that they don't mutate, and they're anti-tumor as well. So when we talk about COVID 19, when you talk about COVID-19, this reishi mushrooms are said to be antiviral and immunomodulatory, and they had therapeutic effects on COVID-19 because of those effects. And some people, you'll notice that they had like this long COVID kind of disease, or they have catching COVID multiple times. Their immune system really needs to be stimulated, and it really needs to be ready to fight. You get this immunity where the white blood cells start to rev up, and the macrophages and things to kind of eat up any virus. But if it gets past your innate immune system, then you have to go to what's called the humoral immune system, where you start building antibodies. And so the reishi mushrooms are going to help you build antibodies, so that you say, I've seen that before. My antibodies are ready to fight you because I've seen you before, and I can beat you up. And so we're trying to make sure that we're strengthening our immune system and making sure that we have enough antibodies to be able to fight and to keep ourselves healthy. It also has adaptogenic properties, and it also helps with the liver, and to help to flush the toxins out of the liver. And the liver is really responsible for getting rid of the toxins. So it's going to actually improve liver health so that your body can release itself of the toxins. And so those are reasons that you want to use it. And because it's adaptogenic, it'll help with the stress response. And so it helps with lowering the stress response so that your cortisol level is not always high and going crazy all of the time. And so it aids in the regulation of the adrenal glands. It's detoxing the body so the adrenal glands can work better, and it helps with focus and concentration, and with strengthening your memory, and this phenomenon called neuroplasticity, so that your nerve cells can actually recover and replace themselves. So that is really an important feature of the reishi mushrooms. Reishi mushrooms are also helpful when people have fatigue, right? You're just tired all the time. And so reducing their studies that actually show, they took 132 subjects and that experienced fatigue. And in just 8 weeks on the diet that included the reishi mushrooms, or the mushrooms, they found that they had not only improved strength and improved fatigue, like their fatigue was going away, but they also had a feeling of well-being. So it actually was shown to help with depression and anxiety, as well as the fatigue. And they also did a study in 2020 2012 with people with breast cancer and found that taking the mushrooms reduced fatigue and anxiety and depression in these women, or even men, because 1% of men do get breast cancer. And we're probably going to see many more men getting breast cancer because of the hormone therapies for people who are transitioning. We're likely going to see more breast cancer in men that are genetically men. Even if they present as women, they're going to start seeing more cancer because of this hormone stuff is getting out of control. And these reishi mushrooms, even in this group of people with breast cancer, and the study in 2012 actually reduced their fatigue, their anxiety, and depression, and really improve their quality of life over the 4 weeks that they were using the products. And so when we talk about the dosage of reishi mushrooms, this is where it gets into something. Reishi mushrooms have a lot of power in them, and so people tend to, like, I'm going to just do a whole lot of it. But you want to be careful, because even though the dosage, like on my reishi mushroom powder pack, shows 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon is 3 grams. And so when we think about that, if 50 grams of reishi mushrooms itself, I'm sorry, doses of the extract will go from like 1.5 to 9 grams per day. But we're also finding that it is in this kind of range up as you continue, that you're going to start feeling some of the side effects that may occur with it. And that might include things like excessive thirst, drowsiness, redness, bloating, frequent urination, abnormal sweating, and diarrhea when you start giving these excessive doses. So you want to stay in the range of what you don't have to drink like multiple cups of the coffee a day, for instance, because you'll be increasing your risk of having some of the side effects. And the interesting thing is that sometimes it can lead to things like allergies and blood clots, and then liver problems. And so that was in a research study in the journal Food that was just published in April of last year, in 2023. So there are some safety concerns with it, but if you are doing it in proper dosing, then you should be safe. So you don't want to overdo it, because you want to avoid liver problems for overdoing it with too much of it. So people that may need to avoid reishi are people that are taking medications like anticoagulants or immunosuppressants. And so those are important. We're also finding that there can be some nosebleeds in it, but generally speaking, the toxicity is low as long as you don't overdo it. And if you're on medications with that you're using for blood pressure or for lowering your blood sugars, then you also want to be careful, because it has effect on lowering your blood sugars and blood pressure. There's not enough information in pregnant women or nursing mothers, so you want to talk to your primary provider about that. And then it increases your risk of bleeding if you are on blood thinners like aspirin, like anti-inflammatories, ibuprofen. Some people take Excedrin on a daily basis for headaches, for instance, which we need to talk about that, why you're having that. But that is going to, if you're taking reishi mushrooms, may increase your risk of bleeding. If you're taking heparin for if you have a history of blood clots and you're on warfarin or Coumadin, it may interfere with it, because it's going to it's going to make your blood thinner. And so you might have to have the dosage of your medications adjusted. And so you want to talk to your doctor about that, because you don't want your blood to be too thin so that you'll bleed easily, especially if you end up falling, and then you can get something called a subdural hematoma, which is really not something that you want. And then it may interact with ginkgo biloba and fish oils, and it might potentiate the effects of them. In some respects, they may be a good thing. And in other respects, if you can just kind of monitor and alter the dosages that you're using. Incidentally, fish oil also will thin your blood as well. So if you're doing fish oil and reishi and you're on a blood thinner, you're really increasing your risk of thinning your blood. So if you're taking migraine medication every day, if you're taking ibuprofen every day, or Aleve, or or I'm trying to think of all the things that you can get over the counter, and then other prescription medications, whether it be Mobic, or you're taking anything by mouth that is a blood thinner, and anti-inflammatories are blood thinners as well. So you want to be careful because you'll increase your risk. Now, how do you consume it? Well, it mixes well in coffee and coffee substitutes and hot chocolate and things like that. And so you can put it in your hot drinks. You can also make a tea out of it. You can mix it in your favorite smoothies, and you can even mix it into sweet and savory recipes and savory dishes. You'll just be spreading it out and just, taking a little bit at a time. So those are some of the applications that you can use with the reishi mushrooms. So we've talked about where it comes from, the nutrient profile, the powders. We've talked about the different forms that you can get it in. We talked about the health benefits of the reishi mushrooms. We talked about how to consume them. And then we've given you some words of caution. So as we put our questions in the chat, I want you to put it as a Q and a colon so that we recognize that we're looking, so that we can recognize it as a question, because there are comments in the chat too. So at least we can recognize that there are questions if you put it in a Q colon format. So we are accepting questions at this time. Shoot away. Most times people are shy until one person asks a question, and then the questions start coming. Or if we've answered all of your questions in my soliloquy, then that's even better. So if you have any questions, please let us know in the chat. I'm not seeing any so far. So I hope that means that you understand it well, and that when you see them, you can make good choices about what you see and about what you are doing. We don't see any questions, so we're good. So listen, is it the same as you're talking about rise? Rise, yes, the rise is a coffee that has multiple different mushrooms in it, and reishi mushrooms is one of them. It also has lion's mane and cordyceps. A lot of different types of mushrooms are in that powder. And the coffee is said to have less caffeine, so you don't get the jittery effect, but there is still caffeine in it. But it has a cornucopia of mushrooms that are put in it for the different adaptogenic properties and the antioxidant properties. And so you can get it in different places. So the question is, where do you buy it? Well, you can buy it in, me, like I'm always getting these powders. Actually, I don't remember. Oh, yes, here we go. I got this one. This is the one that I am using presently. And I got it from, you see that? I got it from Home Goods. Yes, indeed. I got it from Home Goods. You can buy it at Whole Foods. You can buy it online. You can buy it at farmers markets. So it's readily available for those who are interested in purchasing it. Now, my girlfriend is afraid she will lose weight on the fast. Well, here's what's interesting. Now, people are always afraid to detox, because people think that because I'm skinny, I'm fine, but that is not the case. Skinny people are also toxic. And so everybody is faced with the same amount of toxins every single day. And so just because you're slim doesn't mean that you don't have toxins. So I don't let that be a deterrent from detoxing. But what I do say is that in order to not lose weight, then we have to add certain things so that your weight is maintained. And so we do those on a case by case basis. But things that you can add in there to make sure that you don't lose weight is that maybe you add nuts in it, but your nuts are raw. Maybe you're going to be eating fattier fruits like avocado, so you'll be adding avocado in your diet. So we'll do different things so that you don't lose the weight, but you're still releasing your body of the toxins, because the toxins will lead to disease. I don't know if you raise your hand, how many people have seen skinny diabetics? How many people have seen skinny people with heart disease? How many people have seen skinny people with heart attacks? How many people have seen skinny people with cancer, right? Because we're all dealing with the same toxins every single day. And so we all have to fight the best way that we can. So if I go back to video 1 and follow, would my detox be as effective? It absolutely will, because we'll take you through every single day. And so you'll be learning every single day through the detox. So you want to go through and start with day 1 and move on through day 40. We have now 4 more days in our time together, in our live time together, but these videos will be available online and they will help take you through it. I think some people also have the idea that your 40-day detox means that you're not eating any food for 40 days, but that is not the case. What is happening is we are detoxing, but then we're teaching you what foods to consume. And as we start adding in foods, we're adding in foods that we know are not going to provide toxins, that they will allow us to continue to detox. Okay, so we're just going to continue in that way. So if you can tell your friend that detoxing is indeed possible, and that there are ways for her not to lose any more weight, so that she can make her weight steady in her quest to detoxify the toxins that her body needs to get rid of. So yes, the any other questions? Perfect. It looks like all the questions have been answered, guys. So we are at our day 36, the end of our day 36 of our Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp. So we actually are also at day 36 of our Faith Building Bootcamp. We build faith one day at a time at 6 a.m. Central Time every morning, as well as here at your Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp, where we build health one day every morning, one day at a time. These are both central times. These are ever ready, so there will always be online that you can go back and refer to them. This is my contact information. I do see people virtually, and you can contact me by going to info@p2whealth.com and sending us an email, or you can call the office at 256-325-5700. These are my handles for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So please follow us on those platforms as well. I am very excited to be able to offer as well our book, which is our Reverse It book, How to Reverse Type 2 Diabetes and Other Chronic Illnesses. That is available on Amazon, as well as our Success Journal, which is How to Reverse Type 2 Diabetes with the success of both motivation and recording and tips and different things that you won't find in the book. I wrote that one later when I wrote the Success Journal later, based on the questions that people were asking me once they read the book. Well, what do I do about this? What do I do about that? What should I use? What kind of juicer do I need? What kind of this do I need? All those kinds of things are all in the Success Journal. We also have the Power Pack on how to on a strong immune booster that is available at www.p2whealth.com, the same as www.p2whealth.com. Thank you guys so much for joining us today on our Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp. I sure hope that you got everything and this was super helpful for you, but I know sometimes I talk a little fast, so you might have to go back and look at the videos and check your notes, make sure you wrote the right thing, make sure that you got all of the information that was necessary for you to have. And when you go back, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and hit the notifications, so that every time, even after our 40 days together, every time a video goes up, you will be notified. Make sure to share it with your friends too. Make sure you share it with your friends, your family, and even your enemies, because they could be nicer people if they were healthier. So maybe that'll do it too. So share it with them. I'm so glad to see you guys out there, because apparently you guys feel like I do, that health is the new currency and we're spending ours wisely. Thank you for spending it with me today. Thank you. We'll see you again next time. See ya. Take care. Bye-bye.